Okay, number 18 is a composite function because we're putting g inside of f and we want the domain for f of g of x. Okay, so right away I can see that the domain for f of x is all real numbers x such that x cannot be the number 2, because if I plug a 2 in there I get a 0. And for g of x I can see that the domain is all real numbers x such that x is not equal to 0. So if I want the whole thing, right, I'm going to have the all real numbers x such that x cannot equal, well, I need to fill it in. Well, because this means f of g of x, g is inside of f, so we cannot allow any numbers to produce what g is not allowed to be. So right away we can see that we're not allowed to put a 0 into our function, so we can't put 0. But then we also have to realize that g of x is never allowed to produce what f of x is evaluated at when they would give us 0. So g of x is never allowed to be the number 2. And I got that from just looking right there. Right? So I'm setting g of x equal to the thing that f of x is not allowed to be. Well, g of x is defined as 4 over x, and that's never allowed to be the number 2. So do the algebra, multiply both sides by x. So I would get 4, it can't be 2x, and then just divide by 2. So I get here that in this case x is not allowed to be 2. And that's just coincidental that it happens to be the same thing as f of x in the beginning. It's usually not like that. So in this case, the right answer would be 0 or 2. But 2 for a different reason, not just because it was the f of x. Come find me if that part doesn't make sense.